Back at WNST on Thursday night, the undefeated Ravens and the undefeated Bengals leading the division at this point against the still winless Steelers and Browns. Tony Boselli will be calling the action for Westwood 1. I like him a lot. Just don't tell Michael McCrary. He'll be with us on Thursday night, probably eating. Are you a chili guy when you're in Cincinnati, or do you avoid the indigestion that comes along with that, Tone?
Yeah, I think that chili is a little too watery for me. You know, I know it's world famous for them and everything, but I like a little heartier chili. So I might try a little bit of it, but I'll stay away from most of it.
It's got cinnamon and chocolate in it. It's a little weird, you know. It's a little taking a little gets used. Hey, I'll tell you what gets used to is 1-0 and 1-0, and these two franchises all off season, a little more maligned than, let's say, your Jaguars, who did pretty well last year. But the jury's always out on Andy Dalton, it seems, and certainly for Flacco. Back in April, the national media had anointed Lamar Jackson the starter, and lo and behold, Joe Flacco looks like a guy who's going to win 10, 11, 12 games this year. Looks pretty healthy right now.
Well, I mean, they had great starts. I mean, especially Flacco. I mean, they struggled to score 47 points over a three-game period last year offensively. And so they made some moves in the offseason, but it's still early. You know, I think one of the things that you have to be careful of in the NFL is making any big judgments after week one, because you can get fooled. Now, you know, you want to be positive, especially if you're a Raven fan or a Bengal fan, based on what you saw. But it's still early. I think this will be an interesting test. You know, that Bengal defense is better than what they faced with the Bills, but at the same time, you know, you got to you take your hat off to Jim Harbaugh. They kind of reinvent themselves every year, right when you think they're done and they got an old roster and, you know, they're coming off a bad season. You know, it looks like they got that defense back playing at a high level, and if they can score points with Joe Flacco leading the way, they're going to be pretty tough this year.
Well, it's nice that we all have stars in the league, but any team that's playing well right now, whether it was the Jets on Monday night, it's all about who did you draft last April, and let's say the last 2 or 3 Aprils, that if you can get some of those guys onto the field and playing well, then you can win. And if you can't, as the Ravens and the Bengals showed when the Bengals tried to rebuild their offensive line, the Ravens, the road is littered with the Elams and the Perrymans and the Correas, the guys that don't work out. That's when you don't make the playoffs 4 out of 5 years.
No, it's all. I mean, you have to draft well. I mean, that's what it's all about in this league. I mean, you look at the teams that are successful year in and year out. It's 100% about the draft. Now, you can supplement it with free agency, and you can fill gaps there, but you got to hit on the draft, and you know, which is interesting if you look at the Ravens this year. I mean, you got Hayden Hurst, a very good young player, the tight end out of South Carolina, but your second first rounder, Lamar Jackson, you almost hope you don't get anything out of him. I mean, you don't want him to play this year. You're hoping he's sitting on the bench. And you mentioned, you know, some of the misses that the Ravens have had over, especially at the wide receiver position, and I think that's been part of the problem. So, you know, it's early. It's kind of, we're still at the wait and see kind of area for me, at least, when it comes to the NFL season, because, you know, I'm telling you, you can get fooled. You can overreact positively, and you can overreact negatively this first week. I mean, you can start panicking for no reason and start burning your jerseys and, oh, my gosh, we're never going to win another game. And you can have the same thought of thinking you're going to win the Super Bowl and neither being right. So it's kind of a wait and see. And I think you'll get a better feel for both these teams Thursday night, because it is an AFC North matchup. They're teams that know each other. They play twice a year. I'm really interested to see how this game goes.
Hey, good luck telling the Jets fans that, Tone, to not overreact. Tony Boselli.
That's my guy, too. That's my SC guy, Sam Darnold. I'm all about it. I mean, I overreacted last night. I had my USC pom-poms out.
He is Tony Boselli. You can find him out on Twitter. A good dude. We always enjoy visiting with him, even though he was once a Jaguar. He's going to be calling the games for Westwood 1. Now, you call Westwood on Thursday. You do the Jags games on Sunday. You know, the other thing I was going to say on Lamar Jackson, because you said they don't really want to use him. I don't know, man. I mean, he's a decoy. He's going to touch the ball a handful of times. And, you know, you played in this this league a long time at a very high level. I don't know that Mark Brunell would have wanted to get tapped on the shoulder and say, we're going to bring a different kind of quarterback in here to make different kinds of plays on third down. There is an uncomfort level here, I think, from the minute he was drafted. But out on the field, Flacco has made it clear if he does what he's supposed to do, he's going to be out there doing it. I think it's sort of reinvigorated Joe, but Lamar Jackson's going to be a part of this. He's going to be on the field Thursday night. At some point, he's going to burn somebody. I don't know when that's going to happen.
Yeah, but I think you got to be careful with that, quite honestly. I mean, I get it. I mean, he is such a talented kid, and he can do so many different things. But I'm just not for taking your starting quarterback out who's in a rhythm playing good football to do something gimmicky. I just don't think it helps. If you don't have a franchise guy, or if you have a quarterback struggling, fine. Let's mix it up. Let's do things. If you're struggling to score points, if you're struggling to move the ball, absolutely. Do something gimmicky with Lamar Jackson. But if you're playing good football, why are you going to mess up the apple cart? I just think coaches outthink themselves sometimes, and they don't help anybody, especially their team.
I don't know how much you can learn when you beat the Buffalo Bills 47-3 and you beat Nathan Peterman, and then the backup quarterback comes in on a sort of wildly rainy, bad day. So I don't read too much into that, but I do like everything I've seen about the Ravens here in the offseason. And I tell you what, looking at the Bengals, and Tony, the game was so bad, I went to the back wall in the press box, and I watched most of the Bengals, Colts, and most of the Browns and the Steelers. And the one thing I saw from all of these teams is the Browns are better, the Steelers might not be better, certainly not without Le'Veon Bell, and the Bengals and the Ravens, and Thursday might prove some of that, but these short rest games, and you watch them every Thursday, are always difficult to tell. But I think these are improved teams, and I think these are both teams capable of winning 10 or 11 games this year.
No, I think they're both better. I think the AFC North is a better division this year. The Browns aren't going to go 0-16, obviously. They've got a tie at least this year. The Steelers are interesting to me. I don't think it's Le'Veon Bell. I mean, James Conner rushed for, 140 yards and caught the ball and scored a bunch of touchdowns. The question with them is they always start slow, and Big Ben throws a bunch of picks early in the year, and then and defensively they kind of figure it out. And in the second half, they're a really good football team. So it'll be interesting to see what the Steelers do. But when you talk about the Bengals and the Ravens, I agree with you. I think they're both better teams. I think they both have a chance to contend for the division, and it wouldn't surprise me if one won the division and the other one was the wild card. I think they're both much improved teams over last year.
Is there something on the broadcast on Thursday that you admire about both of these teams in the way that the continuity is held, right? Like, they're both decent. They both have a chance to win, but part of that was Marvin didn't go over the side of the boat. They've hung in with Dalton. They've spent the money they've needed on certain players, and the offensive line fell apart last year. And then on the Ravens side, there's, 4 out of 5 years they haven't made the playoffs. They've stuck with Flacco. They've stuck with Harbaugh. Suggs has seen it through. So is Yonda. A lot of these veteran guys. And then there's a guy like Weddle that signed up here, and I was at his locker after the game, and I think he feels good about signing here because they committed to saying we're going to win, and they are trying to win, and they are serious about winning here. And I think that's all you ask for when you're a free agent and you sign up someplace. But I like the formula for both of these franchises in that, and I think that's a sort of new age for Peyton down in New Orleans and how long Tomlin's been in Pittsburgh, that the continuity is sort of the new era of the NFL, not throwing everybody over the side of the boat quickly.
Well, the easy thing is just start firing people. But usually, rarely is it the right decision if you do it too soon. And you give both organizations credit with Harbaugh and with Marvin Lewis that they've kept him around. They've stayed the course, and they're giving the current head coaches a chance to rebuild it, because it's not like Harbaugh or Lewis forgot how to coach. It's not, sometimes you go through lulls. You have turnovers of the rosters. You got a salary cap that you have to deal with. Guys get older. You have to change the personality of your team. And the question always is can the current coach do that? I like that both these organizations have given him a chance, and we'll see how it goes. As far as sticking with Flacco and Andy Dalton, I mean, there's two things there. One is, unless you can find a better quarterback to replace him, what's the point? Don't replace somebody just to replace him. And two, you might not be able to replace him because their salary cap numbers will screw up everything. And so, it's not always just because they love the guy. And, both guys have struggled and didn't have great years last year. But I also think they've done enough in their history as starting quarterbacks that if either the Bengals or the Ravens would have got rid of these guys, there would have been, 4 to 7 other teams that came in right away and tried to scoop them up.
Tony Boselli is our guest. You can find him out on Twitter as well as on the Jaguars Radio Network. He will be calling Ravens and Bengals on Thursday night at Westwood One. All of our WNST programming brought to you by our friends at Pizza John's. If Boselli wanted some good pizza in Baltimore, I'd take him over to Essex, back River Neck Road, where they've been doing it for 50 years over there. Make sure you check out the cheesesteaks and the ravioli. Don't go to sleep on those as well. Pizza John's, 50 years in Essex and doing it right. Also, our friends at Fremont Mortgage, they'll make a 30-year mistake by choosing the wrong lender. You need the right lender. Now, next Tuesday night, we're going to be getting together with another big offensive lineman. Alex Lewis is going to come out. He's going to teach me some rudimentary German. We're going to swab for the Bone Marrow Registry and for our friends at There Goes My Hero. We'll have some more details on that coming up after the game on Thursday. But save Tuesday night, Alex Lewis swabbing on behalf of There Goes My Hero in Fremont Mortgage. Tony, for the Jaguars, and I know you, everybody in Jaguar land has a different view of the Ravens after what happened at Wembley last year, right? So, and I think everybody on the outside looks at Blake Bortles and says, why? And I know we talk to you about that a couple of times a year, and you look up and, well, here we go. Jaguars went on the road and won a game, out of conference. They're 1-0, and I don't know what there's to complain about. I'll tell you what, the defense down there, it's nasty, right?
Well, it's a great defense. I mean, they just, they are all over the place. They're big, they're fast, they're talented at every position group, and they're just really good. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. I mean, they're going to come out and the Jaguars are going to be in every football game because of that defense. Offensively, they weren't very good in the second half. I mean, they didn't. I think they struggled to get past the 50 in the second half. That's how bad they were after having a pretty good first half against the Giants. It's a really young group at certain positions offensively. The wide receiver position group, with the loss of Marquise Lee and losing Allen Robinson free agency, they don't have much there. They have some talent, but as far as experience, and so you kind of have to wait and see and let that passing game get his legs underneath it. But it's a good football team. And Blake Bortles, he's just one of those guys. He finds a way to win. It's not always pretty, but he's a very good athlete. He's tough. He's physical. He can run the ball. As far as broken plays and scrambling, and he makes good decisions most of the time. So I think the Jaguars are they got to be one of the favorites, and maybe I'm biased because I cover them week in, week out, but they got to be one of the favorites to win the AFC. I mean, they are that talented defensively. When you play defense the way they do, they can run the ball with Leonard Fournette, and it's tough to beat you come December, January.
Well, Fournette's going to be the most important part, right? So, when his hamstring hurts, everybody hurts, right?
Well, actually, I would argue the most important group is the offensive line, because if they can control the line of scrimmage offensively, that means they can control the clock and they can run the ball and protect, play ball control. Then they're going to be tough to beat because they can shorten games, and that defense is you're not going to drive the length of the field against that defense and score very many points. So play smart, control the line of scrimmage, don't turn it over, and they're a tough out.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't pretty, but it's never pretty on the road when you're a defensive-oriented team, right? I mean, they're going to win a lot of 20-15s. If they're going to win on the road, that's the way it's going to go down, right?
Well, everyone in Baltimore should know exactly what it's like, because you won in 2000, you won a Super Bowl doing that with one of the greatest defenses ever that just beat people up, and it was ugly football. I think it was like 5 games they didn't score a touchdown offensively and won every game. And so that's just, it's okay to play that way. I mean, everyone wants to play great offense and have the franchise quarterback, and that's great if you can score a lot of points, and it's fun to watch. But I tell you what, nothing wrong with winning football games with great defenses, and that's how the Jaguars are going to do it this year.
So I have a little fun with you here. You're like, everybody's got to calm down after week 1. It's hard to calm down, right? Like, you've loved football your whole life, and then there's this 30 weeks where we don't play. And the only thing we get to talk about is who got arrested or who's getting traded or who's signing there or, who's drafting who. We actually have a game, like this weekend, to see 16 teams win and to see excited Jets fans. And, look, there's a story in every side of this along the lines on Sunday, right? But probably nothing better than Aaron Rodgers, right? The fact that he's back, that the stars are back, throwing touchdowns late into the night, even when people went to sleep, and then the Khalil Mack coming out party. There's a star born along the watch here, and I think 1 week into it, this is the time we do get excited about it and start to say, maybe Joe Flacco's got 12 wins in him this year, right?
Well, it's just great. I mean, listen, football's back. Preseason's over, and watching those games, can wear on all of us. So when it counts, it's a lot of fun. And I'm not saying you shouldn't enjoy it. I'm not saying anyone should not get excited. Just don't get too excited because it could change quickly in week 2.
All right, well, week 2 happens quicker here than anywhere else. We got the storm coming through. Tony, we'll see you for that runny chili on Thursday night in the Queen City. Appreciate you always making time for us, bud.
All right, see you in a couple days.
You got it. Tony Boselli joining us here from Jacksonville, but that won't stop him from getting into Cincinnati for the Bengals and the Ravens on Thursday night. He'll be calling the action for Westwood 1 as well. I'll chase Iron Eagle down another time, maybe post-game or something like that. These guys that do football, man, like my boy Baldy, all these guys, man, running around. Coach Billick flies back and forth. Just a lot going on, a lot of moving parts this time of the year with all these teams. I'm glad to be here in Baltimore. I'll be glad to be in Cincinnati on Thursday night. Luke will be joining us out there. Anything you missed this week, you can find in the buyatoyota.com audio vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We come in crystal clear from anywhere in the world. It's no static at all, just like Steely Dan, who's playing the Modell Lyric on September 11th. John Cusack's down at the Modell Lyric this week, screening Say Anything. I haven't seen that movie in a long time. For those of you who love John Cusack, he's in town doing a Q&A. Go down, check him out. Very, very interesting Chicago guy. And Kansas also playing at the Modell Lyric on November 24th. We did an interview with David Ragsdale, who's the violinist in Kansas, and that's up in the buyatoyota.com audio vault as well. Modell-lyric.com. Got to tell you, there's always magic at the Modell Lyric. Our morning newspaper is also brought to you by our friends at Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com, where it's always $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life. Big reminder, the John W. Brick Foundation 5K weekend is my 50th birthday weekend. That's October 13th and 14th at Timonium Fairgrounds. Please contribute. Give all you can for mental health awareness there. John W. Brick Foundation. Also, Laurel and Laurel Park, we have some rain obviously headed our way here this week, but they're going to get it back together, do the DeFrancis Dash next week. All the details up on the front of WNST.net. Click on the Laurel tab there. It's also in our morning newspaper each and every morning in your email inbox. Any breaking news happens first on the WNST Tech Service. That's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. And, of course, Dennis Colatzos will be here joining us on Thursday from 3 until 5, as he always does. It is the SSV on WNST. You can also follow them on Twitter. Big thanks to our friends at Coons Ford of Security Boulevard for sponsoring our WNST Tech Service. Reminder, Cole Roofing sponsors all of our community and charity work that we do here on Thursday mornings. If you want to be a part of that, just throw me an email, nasty@WNST.net. Would love to get you to be a part of that series. It is all brought to you by Cole Roofing. If you've got a good story to tell, like the John W. Brick Foundation, I want to be able to tell that story for our listeners and our viewers out on the interweb. Do I have anything else to plug? Oh, yeah, my email, nasty@WNST.net. Throw me an email. I'm a very available individual. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST, Towson, Baltimore, even though I'm wearing a pirate shirt because it's Roberto Clemente's birthday. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports.